With silver prices up nearly 25% year to date, it is a good time to be opening a silver mine. Paul Cronin is CEO and Managing Director of Adriatic Metals. Paul, welcome back to Kitco.
Thanks, Michael. Good to be back.
Paul, what's the big announcement?
Look, today's announcement was that we've taken over as the operator of the underground mine from our mining contractor. We saw an opportunity to increase productivity, to reduce costs. So we've made the decision to become the underground operator. I think we've built a great team here over the last 12 months, and we're feeling confident that the team that we have on site is more than capable of achieving the development meters and ultimately the ore tons that we're looking for our plant, which is now operating. And of course, with that, we're acquiring our operators, mining operators' equipment and inventory, and to make sure we've got enough financial headroom. We've announced an additional $25 million debt facility with our principal financier, which is Orion Mine Finance in New York and London.
Now, Paul, Vares, you announced that you were in production I believe it was in February.
Yeah, that's right. So we've started production. There's, as always with new plants, there's lots of little kinks that need to be ironed out. We've been doing that gradually over the last month or so. And I think you'll see that in the next week or so, we'll be ready to declare our first revenue. So we'll be sending our first shipments of concentrate down to the port in Vares, Croatia.
Talking about the announcement that you had today, explain again, it's a bit more of a ownership type or a bit more hands-on with the changes that you made?
Yeah, look, originally we went down the mining contract model that lowers your CapEx, obviously, but it also enables you in a jurisdiction like Bosnia, where you've got a lot of skills that you need to develop to bring in experienced operators who can do that. We were never quite comfortable with the rate of development declines that our contractor was achieving. About 6 months ago, we started implementing a development plan that was going to improve that, and that was hugely successful. As a result of that, where we brought in a lot of international operators into our underground fleet, particularly on the jumbos and boggers, we've now come to the conclusion that we're best to operate this ourselves. And I think over the long term, that's going to develop a lot more skills in country, number one. I think number two, it's going to give us better health and safety outcomes. It's going to give us better environmental outcomes, and ultimately it will also reduce our costs. So it's been a big decision for the board to make, but I think ultimately we've made the right decision, and time will prove that.
What's it been like getting skilled people, Paul? A lot of miners have been saying that is a real choke point. It's also been driving costs.
Yeah, look, it is challenging, and it is driving costs. If you want really good underground skills, you want good maintenance skills, you want good geotechnical skills, you've got to pay top dollar for that. We've been working on a model here of organizational development for a number of years, where we've taken people with the right attitude, the right level of enthusiasm for the industry, and we've systematically developed those people. And what we're seeing now is we're getting a workforce that's more than capable of delivering what we need as a company. We're going to continue to invest heavily in our staff here in Bosnia. It was a key part of our sustainability offering that we're trying to develop a new industry in this country in underground hard rock mining in a manner that is very safe and highly productive. And I think we're going to continue to utilize a small number of very experienced expats, but put the pressure on them to continue to train our local staff. And we have a target that in 4 years' time, we've removed almost all expats from site.
Is the mine supported by the community, Paul?
I think very much so. I think I can say unequivocally that we have a social license to operate. That's not by luck, that's by design. We work very extensively with the local community. as soon as we knew that there was an economic deposit here back in 2019. So right through the COVID era and the inflation era, we have worked with our local community to try and understand what they want out of this project, and that has been that's been reflected in the way we've designed it, the way we've done certain things, such as the restoration of the railway line between Vares and Sarajevo, such as the construction of a new 25-kilometre road in the municipality that will be allow our mining trucks to access the plant easily, but also facilitate greater transport connections within our community. All of these things, I think, are greatly appreciated by our local community, in addition to the work that we're doing on developing young talent, retaining people here in Bosnia. I think one of the key facts I heard this weekend was that 50% of university graduates in this country leave the country to go and work abroad. That's something we really want to try and reverse with many other employers in the country, and try and create opportunities for young people to stay and have rewarding careers here in Bosnia. I think we're doing that. It takes time, but it's one of the sort of key programs that I'm most proud of.
What's the upside exposure to metals with a mine operating, Paul? I mentioned at the start that silver has had its run up of about 25%. Now, in your slide deck, you say that 82% of the project is allocated to offtake and the remaining is held back for advantageous, quote, advantageous spot market sales.
Yeah, we have got 82% of our concentrates allocated into offtake agreements at the moment. Those offtake agreements are based on spot pricing. So the advantageous sales is really about reduced TCs and RCs, where our current contracts are based on benchmark prices. We can capture spot prices on TCs and RCs. So, yeah, I mean, we've seen silver obviously do very well in the last few weeks, although not so well today, I'll say, down 5% currently. But overall, we've got a mine that produces about 60% of our revenue from precious metals and about 40% from base metals. We're seeing base metals actually perform very well at the moment as well, with zinc prices starting to recover quite strongly, lead prices starting to recover, and copper prices doing what we think we all know copper prices will do, which is considerably increase over the next few years.
What have you heard? Where is the zinc markets headed? It seems like they have been doing well, but it's been due to, how would you say, supply destruction over the last couple of years, Paul?
Yeah, look, I think zinc is heavily influenced by construction and industrial activity, and I think the zinc markets always look at China as a bit of an indicator. We've seen Chinese domestic construction quite suppressed for the last couple of years. And we're not really seeing, that changing. However, zinc prices are starting to recover as zinc inventories are declining, and zinc smelters are scrambling for material. We just saw a couple of weeks ago that the benchmark TCs for zinc have almost halved. And similarly, in the last week or so, we've seen copper TCs go effectively to zero, and in China almost negative. So there is an interesting dynamic going on here. There seems to be quite a bit of stockpiling of material. I can understand why Chinese industrials are stockpiling copper. They know the fundamentals of that commodity. I think we're also seeing some fairly aggressive physical buying of silver because the recognition of silver's industrial usage is starting to grow. We've seen silver deficits in supply-demand fundamentals. We've seen substantial reductions in silver physical inventories. And that is now manifesting itself in higher prices. Is that enough to incentivize new silver production? Possibly not. I think if you look where your marginal production for silver is going to come from, there will be some silver mines that come online, although it will take some time. But where you're likely to see more silver production, ironically, is out of your lead zinc VMS deposits. that can come online and produce additional silver. But for that to happen, you're going to have to see zinc and lead prices increase to incentivize those. As you know, we saw the Tara mine in Ireland go on to care and maintenance last year on the basis of uneconomic zinc prices. I'm confident that the incentive price for restarting that operation will be zinc above 3,000 again. But again, time will tell. We've got to look at both the supply and demand side that's affecting prices at the moment, and what industrials are doing with their inventory levels.
I had a question regarding the nickel market and what that has meant to Western markets. So you've been providing input into EU's critical mineral strategies. And I'm just wondering, because are customers willing to pay more, like pay a premium for metals, say that they happen to be Western sourced, or say that they happen to be greener? Because when you look at what's happened to the Australian nickel miners with the what's happened in Indonesia, it's been pretty tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think in Europe, what's primarily driving these green metal products is carbon costs. Everyone's expecting carbon costs to increase over time. European industrials, European smelters are looking for product that is effectively lower carbon production, closer to the source of those raw materials, such as our operation here in Bosnia, that reduces the amount of carbon associated with seaborne transport of concentrates, which can be quite significant. So, yes, there is essentially a premium being paid. And that's not being paid through the headline metal price. It's being paid through better terms around deleterious elements and penalties. It's being paid through better TCs and RCs from the smelters.
How do you view the capital markets as you've been getting Adriatic Metals up, Paul? You're based in Australia. That's your home. You're operating out of Europe. There's also the pull of the North American markets, although we've seen that Australian markets have come to the fore, although that might be changing with kind of the uptake within precious metals. Where do you have to market yourself if you're a miner?
Look, I'm actually not based in Australia. I've been living here in Sarajevo for the last 4 years.
My apologies. Yeah.
No, it's fine. I do miss it, but the work is here. Regardless, we have to market globally. If you look at our shareholder registry, it's about 1/3 Europe, 1/3 Australia, 1/3 US and Canada. We'll be marketing in North America. We'll be marketing in Australia. We'll be marketing in Europe again this year. I think we found capital markets very supportive. We found them supportive from our original IPO back in 2018. And as we've taken the project forward milestone by milestone and continually de-risk the project, we found that those capital market opportunities have opened up to be broader for us. I think where we've been really impressed is with our debt provider, which has been Orion Mine Finance, who are principally in New York, but also run out of London, who've been tremendously supportive in what we've been doing. They originally provided both debt and equity in the project. They've been a great financing partner to work with. But as we continue to de-risk and we get closer to that commercial production date, we're finding a lot more funds are very interested in what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we think that there's great opportunities to potentially look at our capital structure in the future, both on the debt and equity side, as we start to focus on both exploration growth, which we've been very successful at, but also inorganic growth next year and beyond.
You're a very rare bird, Paul, because very few projects make it all the way to near commercial production or starting to produce. We have a lot of investors that are on the site right now. What's the secret sauce? What would you look for when you're looking at somebody that is just starting right now? What do you think are some of the factors?
Oh, look, you've got to have a great deposit, and the Rupice deposit is a world-class deposit. No doubt about that. I think you've also got to look at the jurisdictional risk, and you've got to understand that very well. If you look at Europe, for example, despite the fact you've got this EU Critical Minerals Act that's trying to encourage more raw materials production, the European Union is 27 countries, and in those 27 countries are countless numbers of provinces and municipalities. And I think you've got to look at how you go about building a social license very early on in your process. Even before we published our maiden JORC resource, we were already looking at how we go about building that social license, and we've done that very successfully. And I think that's something that is both prevalent in Europe, but will also become very prevalent in places like Central and South America, ultimately in Australia, and it's already very prevalent in Canada.
Lastly, Paul, milestones at Adriatic over the next 12 months.
Look, it's been, we've had a rapid progression, Michael, from incorporating the company in February 2017 through to starting production in February 2024. What I'm most looking forward to is having cash coming in rather than going out. And I'm really looking forward to announcing that later this month.
Paul, thanks for speaking with Kitco.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
My name is Michael McRae. You're watching Kitco Mining.